welcome to this edition of Hebrew Nation News on YouTube. Every week, the world seems to be accelerating faster and deeper into end-time events. Listen in with Bonnie Harvey as she covers the news highlights of the week for a quick overview. Remember, we know not the day nor the hour, but we do know the season. Reporting to you live on YouTube is this week's news report, Countdown to the Second Coming.
Welcome to the Countdown to the Second Coming. This is August 7th. This is Bonnie Harvey. This is a program that I do every Shabbat in our little Sabbath group, and Laura Densmore was here this weekend and recommended or suggested that I make it part of Hebrew Nation News. So anyway, here's the first installment. There's a vigil on Deutsche Bank. Why? July 25, Deutsche Bank announced that it was going to shut down 200 branches in the near future. Why is this important? David Wilkerson said in a sermon in 1973, a powerful sermon preached in his Times Square church. And during that sermon, it's on YouTube. Go there, please. He said, I have never felt the anointing of the Holy Spirit to this extent as I do right now. I was given a dream a few months ago. I kept it. I don't want to give it, but God told me to give it. I'm here today to give the dream. And it was all about a warning about end times. He said that global collapse, financial collapse, starts in Germany. It goes to South America. It also goes to Japan. It goes to Mexico. Mexico defaults. Within 2 weeks of Mexico's default, the United States falls financially. The United States financial collapse. Why should the world financial institutions be so dependent upon each other? One of the answers is derivatives. There are lots of answers, but a big answer is the derivative exposure. Derivatives are betting. It's as if the bankers of the world go to Las Vegas. And if their banks fail, if their bets fail, the people pick up the tab. If the bets are good, they get the profits. Derivatives are not a product. They are merely bets on other products. Swaps or credits or options or puts or whatever they are. They're all just bets on what another product is doing, and the value of the derivative depends upon the value of the product that they are betting on. Warren Buffett said that derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction. You don't see it now, but ultimately they are deadly. Here is the derivative system was deregulated about the same time that mortgages were deregulated. The Glass-Steagall Act was put into effect right after 1929, after that collapse, and the Glass-Steagall ensured the quality of mortgages, so they could sell this monetized paper globally. And historically, American mortgages has enjoyed a AAA rating because of the regulations put into effect under Glass-Steagall and other legislation after 1929. In their wisdom, they repealed this regulation about the same time. That derivatives, this is setting the world up for global financial collapse. Is this intentional? Sure seems like it. We can see how derivatives is gone. Here is Deutsche Bank. The green is the German domestic product, 4 trillion. On the right, the red, derivative exposure of Deutsche Bank, 64 trillion. There's no way they can pay this off if it goes bad. These are bets. Here's another graphic trying to get the same point across. In fact, I have read that the gross global exposure to derivatives exceeds the gross global domestic product. We can't pay this off. The people who are betting will win all. Zika, GMO mosquitoes were released in Rio de Janeiro at the hub of Zika. They said, we release the mosquitoes, here's Zika, let's go release it in Miami. Of course that's the next logical step. Now we have Zika in Miami. Thank you so much, people. And immediately they start spraying neighborhoods. This is soft kill, raining chemicals down upon the citizenry. And immediately also they have a vaccine that has proven, quotes, 100% effective in other primates. And of course they have a whole new vaccination system, and here it is. Okay, we can joke a little bit. We need to pray because some of these vaccines are going to start being mandatory, and we need to pray and ask Father what we should do. Some of them will be irreversible. Just pray about this. I also urge you to get into a prayer group. We have a prayer group. We meet every Erev Shabbat. We combine Erev Shabbat and prayer group. So, it has done wonders for the spiritual unity, kindness, love, progress of the group. We're going to be praying about this. Please pray also. What color matches you? There are 3 colors. There are red, blue, and yellow. They're not, springs, fall, winter. No. This is red, blue, or yellow. They're taking social media entries and assigning a number to you according to your threat level to the final global government. And you will be labeled as insider threats. This man, Victor Thorne, pen name, put these 3 books out, a trilogy on Hillary and Bill. Just came up deceased of unknown causes recently, within the last couple of weeks. And causing people to question whether or not word had gone out to kill the Red List. The Red List are the leaders, the people that warn, the people on the wall, the people that are screaming, the people that influence a lot of other people. The Blue List are those who follow the Red List. And that's probably, if you're watching this, that's probably you and probably me. These people will be rounded up except for God's protection. Once martial law is in place and taken to the FEMA camps, where they will be re-educated. Hillary speaks of this, saying that there will be adult camps. Oh, what could be more fun than adult camps, she says. Various mind control techniques will be used on them. Most will not survive. That's a lot of fun, Hillary. The fact that Obama has labeled Trump a danger to the U.S. is troubling. Is he setting up the standard? Is he calling for an officially sanctioned murder? Is he letting people know nothing will happen to you? We want this to happen. Wherever you are, whoever you are, go do this. I think it's very troubling. The more we learn, the more we realize how transparent we are. IDI is a Boca Raton data fusion company. This was started actually by a Colombian drug lord, sold out, and is now a fusion company collecting data on every single human being. And they're selling reports for as little as $10. They think that this reports on people are going to be big business in the near future. They're searching public and private databases for every move we make. Included in here are the games we play, places you stay, social data, demographic data, grocery bills, past and present phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, tickets, hunting permits, photos, the whole thing. The whole thing. How much do they know about you? Here's what they say. You may not know what you do on a regular basis, but I know. I know it's Thursday and you haven't eaten Chinese food in 2 weeks. I know you're due. Theft of the government, by the government, for the government. This is someone wrote in to stevequail.com. This is one of his comment section. Bills are about to be passed that will affect our retirement accounts. To look at your retirement account, pray over this. What should you do with your retirement? The government is going to seize this. They have seized it in other countries. It's going to come here. If your retirement investor is blind to what's happening in the world, don't believe them. Our retirement investor is saying, no, this is private money. Nothing could happen. It has never happened before. Well, it has. This is not real. This is just artwork. This has been on a display. But this is an example of what's been going on probably since Roswell. And now Obama is putting the green light on something that has been taking place secretly underground. It is the combination of humans and animals, Father says don't mix. Satan is trying to undo everything that God set in place in the garden. There are many antediluvian antiquities artwork. I don't know if this is the antediluvian, probably a remembrance of what was in antediluvian times. Before the flood, not only were angels mating with human beings, but also they were mixing the animals. So, and they were the gods. And this, you see the wings. This is the fallen angel sign. They were mixing the animals, and these became the mythological. There's fact. There's a factual foundation in myth, and it's all over the place. All kinds of classical art carries forward this myth of the great winged gods and the animal-human chimeras. A Virginia school district is hoping to blur the line between girls and boys, between gender. This is another thing Yehovah laid down in the garden, is gender. He made man, he made women, male and female. Satan wants to undo that. Now just a generic term. That's fine. Again, this is the sins of Balaam, in which he counseled those who hired him to get the people, get the Jews, get Israel to engage in sin, and their own God would curse them. I don't need to curse them. And this is one of the Levitical 18 sins that Acts 15 says you cannot be in a congregation if you're doing this, if you're engaging in this, if you're promoting this. This is a biggie. This is a shortcut to a demonic indwelling. That's why Satan is using this. And he's starting with the children. Here in the Virginia School District, students can change their gender identity at will. One week they can be in the boys' shower, the next week they can be in the girls' dressing room, not a problem. Parents involved, only if you want them to be. Of course, they're using something very engaging to the child. Here's a cartoon, here's a unicorn. And you see, gender is just kind of on a continuum, and you can go back and forth, and it's fluid. You know, one week it could be this way, and one week it could be that way, and that's perfectly fine. They start this in the young years. By the time they're in junior high and high school, they honestly believe it, and they're honestly conducting their lives that way. Going along with this, Satan is really hitting the kids. Wherever there is a child evangelism out chapter after school, the Satanic Temple is contacting them to let them in also under the guise of equal protection. If you allow child evangelism, you've got to allow me. And this is going to be hard to defend. Missouri, Georgia, California, Florida, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Maryland, Arizona, all of them have been contacted. Let us set up after-school Satan programs. In all but one district, yes, they have child evangelism fellowships. Here's the guy that's promoting this. I showed this in our Sabbath group yesterday, and one of our members said, remember that concept we went over? And he was referring to this: woe to the worthless shepherd who deserts the flock. May the sword strike his arm and his right eye. May his arm be completely withered and his right eye totally blinded. Look at the right eyes of both of these beings, the cartoon and the human. He is announcing, if you know scripture, that he is the worthless shepherd and the one whom he adores. The cartoon. He is the worthless shepherd who will desert the flock. When they, with their dying breath, he will just laugh at them. What? You believe the liar? You idiot. World tension is increasing. China is sending bombers, fighter jets on combat patrols over the contested islands in the South China Sea. The South China Sea has islands that are also owned by Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. Everybody in this area. Here is the South China Sea. And everything in here is claimed by China. The Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, all these areas, you don't own a thing. No. We own the whole thing. Here it is in more detail. You can see all the islands that are in this area. And here is the 9- area. 9-, 10-, 11-, depends on what you read, but there's the dash. The whole thing, that's ours. NATO buildup in eastern Russia is very concerning. In some places, there's only a shallow river separating them. A shallow river in the northeast where I grew up is a creek. They're just separated by a creek. Even in some of the towns, when these towns lived under the Iron Curtain, they were all under the control of Russia. So a lot of Russians moved into these areas, and after the fall of the Iron Curtain, well, they went to Europe. But still, there are a lot of Russians in these areas. However, their salaries and their retirements and their infrastructures are all superior to Russia. So they say, yeah, we love Putin. We love him across the river. Here are the Dutch NATO forces on the Eastern Front. Here are other NATO forces. I mean, they look like they're combat ready right now. They've got their guns up on sandbags. Here is an example of one of the shallow rivers that separates. In fact, this is Estonia. Down the Ukraine, it's even more shallow than this. They could just drive their tanks across. On the left is Estonia. On the right is Russia. Here's the line. They're building up all along here, especially over the Ukraine. Look how pivotal the Ukraine is. Look at how long the shoreline is on the Black Sea. Here is Crimea, which is home to the Russian Navy. If they go north during the winter months, it is iced in. They have to have a warm port so their Navy can operate. Go through Istanbul, they can have access to the world. Or else they're locked, except they go off their eastern coast by Siberia. This is from a Greek listener. You can stop this and read it if you want to. Obviously, not an English speaker. The bottom line is the Greek press is reporting that Putin will nuke ISIS if they do not return the 2 bodies of the Russian pilots of the helicopter that ISIS downed last week or the week before. For the first time, Obama, a U.S. president, has stated that the U.S. military can kill U.S. citizens on American soil. This is hideous. This is posse comitatus on its head. The founders of the country specifically stated that the Army of the United States was not to be used on its own citizens because they themselves had been victims of abuse by a resident army, the British Army. And they set measures in place to protect the citizenry in the future, and here Obama is taking those protections off, allowing, amongst other things, drone strikes on U.S. soil on U.S. citizens. Obama has already given himself, in 2012, all new emergency powers. He now controls everything: food, property, communications, transportation, military. There's nothing he doesn't control. And he can have this control for as long as he desires. He can even control civilians to forced labor in times of peace or emergency. There's the new workforce for the globalists in the final government. They want it to be back like it was in every other beast empire. There were a lot of slaves serving a few masters, and that's what they want again. There are a few middlemen controlling all the slaves. And for what it's worth, my opinion on this election is it's not going to occur. I don't think the guy we have now is going to go anyplace. I think he's going to emerge as an emperor, and that's exactly what he wants. And that is congruent with the dream the pastor had, where Obama went out onto, quotes, the Truman porch. The pastor at the time didn't even know there was a Truman porch on the White House. And he took a gun and shot down the bald eagle out of the sky. And he dusted his hands off and said, good, I won't have to worry about that anymore. He won't have to worry about the pretense of democracy anymore. He can just do as he pleases. Sharia law, divide Israel, Islamic State, get rid of Israel, all that, I'm sure, is on the back of his mind. This is a very interesting part of this is Revelation 9. Let's go over this. Let's go over these beasts, because the abyss, that is called Abaddon or Apollyon, is right here, is CERN. This is CERN on the border of Switzerland and France. You can see the ring, the collider ring. You can see it. This is 17 miles in circumference. And you can see it's forming clouds. I think that the demons are appearing. The goal of CERN is to tear the fabric of time and space and dimensions. They want to open up a portal to another dimension. CERN is located over the site of the ancient Apollyon Abaddon. And this information was brought to us by Laura Densmore, who heads up the news for Hebrew Nation News. So if that is Abaddon and Apollyon, what is going to come out of there? These demons are going to come out and attack people. Let's look at this. Their teeth were like lions' teeth. The sound of their wings was like thundering of horses and chariots. Their tails had stingers. They tortured people for 5 months. Let's take a look. Okay, here it is. They're trying on this ancient site to open up a portal to the demons. There is a writer, a messianic writer of the CERN, who has stated, I don't have permission to use this person's name, but stated that Father told him a couple of years ago that the veil between the demonic and the earth has been torn. And what is coming through? Are we seeing more demonic manifestations in nature, in the world? I believe we are. This is from Watchers 10, L.A. Marzulli's latest DVD. You can buy this on HebrewNationOnline.com. Hebrew Nation gets 40% of the profits for every purchase. This is a way to support Hebrew Nation Radio. This is a being that was captured on film outside of a lady who was at a New Age retreat in Washington State. She comes on the camera and discusses this. When she first went to the retreat, again, it's New Age, she was sitting with the other retreaters and she heard clank, 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 clank. She said, "What is that?" They said, "Oh, that's just the fairies." The fairies? And she stood up. They said, "Look, yes, in the forest you can see them." She said, "Those little things make all that noise?" Remember, Revelation 9 said their wings sound like the sound of many horses and chariots. She said this little thing, maybe 8 inches tall, was making a huge racket, and she caught a picture of it. This is one of the pictures that's on the video. This is a similar being that was picked up beside a roadside in Mexico by a 13-year-old boy. He picked it up, gave it to his parents. He said he wanted to send it to Jaime Maussan, who is a well-known media personality in Mexico. So they did. They sent it to Jaime. He has shows on UFOs and all everything kind of startling, and he shared it with L.A. Marzulli. This is off of once again L.A. Marzulli's video. He said it's about 8 or 9 inches tall, has wings. Let's take a closer look at it. This is not Tinkerbell. This is evil. Here's an x-ray of the thing. LA showed this to a veterinarian who said, okay, I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm just gonna tell you what I see. The bones are consistent with a bird's bones. They are less dense, so the being can fly. The bones are more dense in areas that need greater structural support, such as the skull, the shoulder where the wings are attached, and the hips. I don't know if this is real. There are ribs. There are the appropriate joint marks. Look at this joint. Look at the teeth like a lion. He said, if this is an imitation, somebody has gone to an awful lot of work to do this. An awful lot of work to have it laying beside a roadside in Mexico, found by a little 13-year-old boy that needed to take a rest stop in the woods while he and his family were driving along an isolated stretch of highway. LA showed this at a conference in Colorado. LA said, I don't know what I don't know what these dots are. During the intermission, 2 hunters came up and they said, that's number 7 bird shot. This thing was shot out of the sky. He said number 7 is common in Mexico. And it got caught in the bird shot. Remember the stinger in the tail. Here's the being's tail. Here's the tail. Look at this. Here's an enlargement. This thing has a stinger tail. Is this the being that's going to come out? Did this being come out of CERN? Is this the abyss starting to open up? They don't have permission yet to torture people, but that permission, they will soon have it if this is the being. There's a cloud over a Russian city. Is this a portend? The dwellers of this city were asking each other, has the USA bombed us? Is this a portend? Talking about time-space being the fabric torn and the demonic portal being opened. I offer this next film. This is the last slide. I offer this and you can make up your own mind what this is. Some people say water. I don't know. I don't see that it's water. The trees are intact. There's no standing water here. I don't think it's water. I have seen this in another film that I watched of a missing hiker, and what was caught on his phone was at the end, it was completely demonic. This hiker lost his life, had this same kind of manipulation of matter that we see in this video. That's it, folks. Be blessed. Shavua Tov. I'll see you next week. Put your armor on. Gird yourselves. I offer to you that this is going to be very challenging.